Okay, so now let's talk about Scandal. Now, this is absolutely my favorite show on television right now. Every single time the episode ends, I am dying for the next week. I need to know what's about to happen next. This show is just so good. For those of you who don't know, I don't know why you wouldn't know. This show stars Kerry Washington and Tony Goldwyn, and it's basically about Kerry Washington's character, Olivia Pope, and she is a crisis manager. And she used to work in the White House, and she helped the president, Fitzgerald Grant, get elected, I guess, 2 years before this. And during that period of time when they were working on the campaign together, they fell in love. And obviously, this was a relationship that couldn't happen, shouldn't happen, but did. And he's married to Melly, and they have two kids now, three. And it was, obviously quite the scandal. And that nobody knew about. Nobody knew about this affair, or at least that's what we were led to believe. But what this show does so well is it brings you into these storylines, it brings you into these characters, it brings you into these emotions, and then it just kind of like rips them all apart. And I think that that's awesome. Every character on this show is flawed. No one's perfect, and nobody should be perfect because nobody in real life is. But they do it in a way where you feel compassion for them still, like that the thing, like there's a meaning to the end, like there's an end game, there's like they do these bad things, and it's not just because they want to do it, it's because at the end of the day they have to do it. And right now, season 3 is on fire. We have had 3 episodes, and I mean, like my head is just spinning. So at the end of last season, we found out that Olivia was basically revealed as the president's mistress, and she, to try to get away from all the craziness, somebody grabs her, pulls her into a limousine, and she's sitting down in front of a man who we've been seeing throughout the season, and we don't know who he is. Like, he's this mysterious man. He wants to like basically burn Olivia. He wants to burn the president. He does not want this affair to be revealed, and we find out that it's her father. And her father is the head of an organization called B613. And for all of you who know, back when Olivia first met Huck, he worked for an organization called B613. And they're basically like a secret organization that does very bad things. Let me just say, okay? And they're not nice people. They have recruited people who once worked for the government, were once military, were once maybe black operatives, and they bring them into this other level of crime, but they do these high level assassinations, or they basically get rid of people who need to be gotten rid of. And so we find out at the beginning of season 3 that Olivia's father is the head of this organization. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And Jake, as we know from the end of last season, was hired by this man to seduce Olivia. So in your mind, you're thinking, what? Your father had you seduced so that you could maybe get away from the president? And of course, Jake didn't know why he was doing this. He just knew he had to do it. And Jake had bugged Olivia's apartment, had cameras all over it. Olivia found out, like, it was bananas, okay? And we find out that Jake is also friends with the president. They served on a mission together called Remington. And we don't know the details of that, but what we do know is some ish went down, okay? So we have all of these like pieces to the puzzle that need to be solved, and without a doubt, Shonda Rhimes will have them solved sooner than later. And that is the one thing that we love about Scandal. Scandal is not a show that waits until the 11th hour to tell you who done it. They will tell you at minute one and then have your brain scrambling for the next 42 minutes of this episode. Like, it's crazy. It gets right to it. It wastes no time. The dialogue is super fast. Some people are like, oh, why do they talk so fast? And I get it. They're trying to create this world where everything, it's urgent. Everything is urgent. You can't take a breath, because if you do, you're wasting time. And they do such a great job. The actors on this show are amazing. All of the characters. We've got Quinn, who's amazing. Like, the evolution of her character has been outstanding. She came in as a girl who nobody knew, and we found out after season 1, going into season 2, that Quinn basically became the ploy in a bigger storyline. And because Olivia felt bad for her, she took her in and basically gave her a job, gave her a new identity, and created this life for her so that she could escape this old life. And it all just fits so well. And so right now, Quinn's storyline is very tied into Huck's, because towards the middle of last season, Huck decided that he was going to train Quinn and basically make her a mini Huck, which is frightening, okay? Because we all know what Huck is capable of. And it's things that you don't want to whisper, like, you don't want to say out loud. You want to say them under your breath, because he is one scary dude. So he has now, Huck is like a broken soul, because, B16 did so many terrible things. And if you remember back in the episode, I believe it was called 7/20/22 or something like that. Anyways, we find out that Huck's had a family, and he has no idea where they are now. And he was basically thrown in a hole. He was tortured. He was broken. He was damaged. And when Olivia found him, he was just homeless, living on a platform. And he kind of could remember bits and pieces of his life, but he has just been a tortured soul. And then we have Abby, who is like this hard as nails. She came in, and Olivia saved her back in the day, and she's just like this tough as nails woman, and she like means business, and she's been dating the DA, what's his name again, and they've been sort of in an on again, off again relationship. And it's one of those things that he's the one wearing the white hat. His name's David Rosen. Oh, I hate when I can't remember these names. His name is David Rosen, and he is the DA. And he went through some serious stuff last season too, because everybody thought at first that he may have murdered this girl. Then it comes out that he was framed, and they were trying to get all this information. And he was very intricate in finding out who the actual person was who was behind the whole Citron and we know who was behind the Citron bombing, and but he was behind part of like how the president was assassinated, and who was sort of responsible for leaking some of these tape. Like he just there's been so much stuff going on in this series that it just blows your mind. Like, yes, the president was almost assassinated last season. That is how crazy this series is, okay? And so at the end of the day, we have this on again, off again relationship with Olivia and the president. And I mean, these two are so steamy. It is ridiculous. So they call them the Fits. So anybody who is like a huge fan of them is shipping these two as couples, as people on YouTube like to call it. They are the pair that everybody tunes in to see. And now we have Jake, who stepped up and could be taking away some of the the heat off of these two. And it's outstanding. Mellie is like one of the most interesting villains, and I don't really want to call her a villain. She is just a woman who means business, okay? She's so smart, she's so intelligent. She is the wife of the president, and she knows that he is in love with Olivia. She knows that these two are destined to be together, but she don't care. Like, she cares, but she will have none of it. Like, she is so manipulative in such a good way. She will constantly just try to do things to twist it around so that she ends up getting her way. She's so smart. Her and Cyrus are like two peas in a pod. And when they are not working together, it is like, watch out, because they are crazy enemies. And so at this point, we have so many juicy characters, so many juicy storylines, like it's out of this world. And I don't want to forget about Harrison. And now Harrison, will say, is the one character I feel like they've neglected over these last two seasons. So I'm hoping this third season will give us a little bit more meat and bones on his story and on his character, because yes, they've stepped him up as somebody who's willing to take charge, and he wants to be Olivia's right hand man in the office. And maybe now that Huck has found out that Olivia's father is the head of B16, and he is kind of like not very happy with Olivia. Hello, he choked her, pushed her up against a car. Hello, Huck. Oh my God, it's Olivia. Anyway, so maybe Harrison will be able to now squeeze in as her number two, because we all know Huck was her number two. But yeah, that is the one person that I would like to see get a little bit more of a storyline on this show, and that is Harrison. But I mean, this show is crazy, and the way it ended last episode was Olivia and Jake sitting in her room, in her living room, basically thinking to themselves, what does Olivia's father have in store for them? Because he doesn't do anything unless it benefits him. He doesn't do anything unless you serve a purpose to him. And so she asks Jake, like, why did they let you out? Why are you here? Why are you free? And he's like, I don't know. I have no idea. And it just goes to say, they're both thinking, what does he want from me? What is the next thing he's going to want from me? And we all want to know. We all want to know what Remington is about. We all want to know what happened between Jake and the president. Like, it is just so good. The ratings have soared. It opened up this year. It premiered with a 10.5. I mean, back in season 1, it premiered, I think, and it had like 6 million viewers. And now it's at like 10.5. It's doing like 3.3 in the demographic between 18 to 49-year-olds. I mean, this show is on fire. Shonda Rhimes is killing it every single week. They're like, okay. I will say, last week's episode, the bomb scare, like, how would she have gotten the bomb into I believe it was the Capitol? Like, there are elements in this series that you have to say, okay, I'm willing to go with it. Because, I mean, all shows do this. All shows go a little extra, a little over the top. But when you really think about it, and you watch CNN or you watch any of these American networks, and you see what really happens and what really goes on, some of these things are not that far-fetched. And as we know, like, this show is loosely based on a woman who used to be a crisis manager for the White House. So I'm sure she's got a lot of juicy stories, and you could just look at a headline and be like, oh yeah, let's put that in the show, and it would not be that crazy. So the show does go a little bit, extra sometimes, but that's fine. Like, when you really get down to it and you see like what these characters and how it's written and how it's delivered, and it literally blows your mind every episode. So for me, Scandal is getting thumbs up everywhere across the board. It is on fire, and I hope it continues. So I know that what Shonda is doing this season, which I am so happy about, she is airing all 13 episodes off the top without any breaks. Or it's either 12 or it's 13. And then they're going to go on a little bit of a hiatus, and then they're going to come back and they're going to air the last 12 episodes or 11 or whatever number they got picked up for this season on the back end. And I am so happy with that, because one of the things that's so frustrating when you're watching network television is they'll air 4 or 5 episodes, then they'll take like a 3-week break, and then they come back, and then you're like, is it new? Is it old? Like, what? I can't. You have to pay such close attention to the schedule. But what they are doing, they are going to air all 12 or 13 uninterrupted, and then they're going to take a bit of a break, I guess probably a month, 2 months, who knows. And then they're going to come back and they're going to air the final episodes. And I am so excited about that. So every week we'll be hit with some juicy storylines. We're not going to have to wait for 4 weeks to find out what happened. It's just going to be crazy. So if you are not watching Scandal, I suggest you start now. The first season only had 7 episodes, and then you just go from there. It is amazing. That's all I've got, and hopefully you tune in for more, okay? See you next week.